Is the human heart's persistent yearning for another a mere distraction from higher truths, or does it hold a deeper, often misunderstood, spiritual significance? This profound inquiry strikes at the very essence of human connection, challenging the narrow definitions often imposed upon what constitutes a spiritual life. Carl Jung, with his expansive understanding of the human psyche, recognized that to dismiss the powerful stirrings of the soul, even those directed towards another individual, is to deny a vital current of life itself. Society, in its pursuit of simplified spiritual narratives, often encourages a detachment from earthly affections, framing such desires as obstacles to enlightenment. To sever oneself from the intricate web of human relationship, to accept isolation as a prerequisite for spiritual growth, is a path that, while seemingly ascetic, can lead to a life devoid of genuine warmth and a spirit deprived of the profound lessons inherent in relational being. You may find yourself grappling with an internal paradox, a genuine desire for spiritual advancement, yet a persistent, undeniable pull towards thoughts of another, whether it be a beloved, a friend, or even a figure from your past. This lingering presence in your mind might cause concern, a nagging question of whether such thoughts are spiritual enough, or if they somehow impede your higher journey. This video is not a dismissal of spiritual discipline. It is an immersive journey into the nuanced interplay between human connection and spiritual awakening. A practical manual to identify, embrace, and ultimately integrate the profound spiritual lessons embedded within your thoughts of others. Prepare yourself, for the wisdom you are about to receive promises a transformative unveiling of a spiritual life that is both deeply connected and authentically human. The first principle we must grasp, often obscured by ascetic ideals, is the principle of relational reflection. This dictates that thinking about someone is not merely a cognitive act, but an often unconscious process of holding a mirror to your own soul. The qualities you admire, desire, or even fear in another are frequently projections of your own unacknowledged potentials, unresolved aspects, or nascent spiritual truths seeking integration within yourself. This is not a distraction from your spiritual path. It is a profound invitation to self-discovery, using the other as a living oracle of your own inner landscape. This intricate principle connects intimately with Jung's concept of projection, particularly the anima, animus, our inner opposite-sex soul image, and the shadow. When we are deeply engaged with thoughts of another, we are often engaging with these internal figures externalized. Consider the ancient mystics who would meditate upon archetypal images of deities or divine lovers. Their intense focus was not merely adoration, but a process of internalizing and integrating the divine qualities these figures represented. Similarly, when you think of someone, their perceived qualities can serve as powerful symbolic representations of what is emerging or seeking recognition within your own psyche, leading you deeper into self-knowledge rather than pulling you away from it in the contemporary landscape. This principle manifests insidiously across various relational domains. In romantic thoughts, a persistent idealization of a partner might reveal a longing for a specific quality, for example, courage, compassion that you feel is lacking or underdeveloped in yourself. In friendships, an intense admiration for a friend's artistic talent might be a subconscious call to nurture your own dormant creativity. Even negative thoughts about someone, such as resentment or judgment, can reflect unacknowledged shadow aspects within yourself that need conscious integration. This mirroring process is a continuous spiritual exercise, whether recognized or not, to truly leverage this relational reflection. Cultivate a conscious awareness of what about the other occupies your thoughts most. Instead of dismissing these thoughts as unspiritual, ask, what quality or feeling does this person evoke in me that points to something within myself? Use their perceived traits as prompts for inner exploration. This disciplined self-inquiry transforms what seems like mere mental dwelling into a powerful meditative practice, allowing you to reclaim your own projected qualities and deepen your spiritual understanding of yourself. The second shadow principle, often creating unnecessary guilt, is the principle of empathic resonance. This posits that thinking about someone is often an unconscious act of tuning into a shared energetic or emotional field, a profound connection that transcends mere physical presence. Your thoughts can be a form of deep empathy, a response to an intuitive sensing of their well-being, struggles, or joys, even across great distances. Dismissing this as unspiritual is to deny the very interconnectedness that many spiritual traditions emphasize, reducing spirituality to an isolated, self-contained endeavor. This principle directly relates to Jung's concept of the collective, unconscious, and the fundamental interconnectedness of all psyches, often experienced through synchronicity and shared archetypal patterns. When we resonate with another, we tap into this deeper field, perceiving beyond the superficial. Recall the indigenous wisdom traditions where communal healing rituals are performed, believing that the well-being of one individual affects the entire tribe and that thoughts and intentions can travel great distances. Their spiritual practices were often deeply intertwined with the well-being of the collective, viewing individual thoughts of others as threads in a larger tapestry of shared consciousness. In modern society, this manifests with alarming frequency, often dismissed as mere coincidence or just thinking. A sudden, inexplicable urge to check on a distant loved one, only to find they were in need. A persistent feeling of unease about a friend, which later aligns with a real difficulty they were experiencing. These are not random occurrences, but manifestations of empathic resonance. In caregiving professions, nurses and therapists often speak of instinctively knowing when a patient is in distress, demonstrating this subtle, non-verbal connection. To overcome this, begin by consciously honoring your intuitive connections to others. Instead of judging thoughts of someone as distracting, ask, is there a message here? Am I being called to offer support or to simply hold space for this person's well-being? Cultivate a practice of sending compassionate thoughts or well wishes when someone comes to mind, transforming a passive thought into an active spiritual gesture. This conscious acknowledgement of interconnectedness will deepen your spiritual practice, making it more expansive and inclusive. The third shadow principle, often causing us to suppress genuine affection, is the principle of the alchemical catalyst. This posits that intense thoughts about another, especially those infused with deep emotion, whether admiration, love, or even profound longing, can act as powerful catalysts for internal transformation. These emotions, far from being unspiritual, can stir dormant parts of your psyche, forcing you to confront your vulnerabilities, your capacities for compassion, and your readiness for true intimacy, all essential components of profound spiritual growth. This deep-seated principle is closely linked to Jung's concept of the process of individuation, where growth often occurs through intense, sometimes challenging, encounters that force us to integrate previously fragmented aspects of ourselves. Recall the ancient alchemical traditions, where base metals were transformed into gold through intense heat and chemical reactions. In a similar vein, the heat of profound relational thought and emotion can act as a catalyst, dissolving internal resistances and revealing the spiritual gold within. The tale of Cupid and Psyche, filled with trials and tribulations born from a passionate, complex love, illustrates how love for another can be the very crucible in which one's soul is forged and refined. This manifests profoundly in contemporary life. A profound romantic attraction might force an individual to confront deeply held fears of vulnerability or abandonment, leading to immense personal growth. The challenge of a difficult relationship can reveal hidden reservoirs of patience and forgiveness. Even the longing for someone who is absent can deepen one's capacity for unconditional love and spiritual connection beyond physical presence. These intense relational experiences are not deviations from the spiritual path, but often central to its most profound lessons. To liberate yourself from this restrictive view, consciously embrace the transformative power of your emotions related to others. Instead of suppressing intense feelings or judging them as unspiritual, allow them to arise and observe what they are revealing about your own inner landscape. Ask, what is this emotion teaching me about myself? What aspect of my being is being called to grow or heal through this connection? This courageous engagement with your inner emotional world will transmute relational thoughts from mere mental preoccupations into potent engines of spiritual evolution. If you're finding this exploration of human connection and its spiritual dimensions to be insightful and believe this message resonates with your quest for a more holistic spiritual path, subscribe to the channel and enable notifications so you don't miss any content that will further empower your journey towards authentic wholeness. If you feel a persistent yearning to integrate all aspects of yourself, including your deeply human capacity for connection, and to finally experience a spiritual life that embraces the fullness of your being, know that this inner calling is not a fantasy. It's your authentic self preparing for a profound liberation, a reclaiming of inherent interconnectedness, and a truly embodied spirituality. There are potent principles and practices that can illuminate this path of autonomy and self-affirmation, empowering you to live with an unshakable clarity and a profound sense of purpose. In the pinned comment, we have made available resources that were carefully crafted for souls like yours, ready to experience their most profound personal revolution. We have begun to unveil the profound spiritual dimensions often hidden within. Your thoughts of others, moving beyond superficial judgments of what is spiritual and what is not. You've seen how thinking about someone can serve as a mirror for self-discovery, a conduit for empathic connection, and a catalyst for deep inner transformation. But these are merely the foundational insights. Now we delve into the more complex, yet equally vital, principles that, once understood, unlock even deeper levels of spiritual integration through human connection. The coming insights are not for the faint of heart. They require a courageous willingness to expand your definition of the sacred. The fourth shadow principle, often creating unnecessary guilt or shame, is the principle of the embodied divine. This posits that the divine is not solely an abstract, transcendent concept, but is also immanent, residing within and between all living beings. Therefore, to experience profound thoughts of love, admiration, or even longing for another is to participate in a human reflection of divine connection. To deny or suppress these thoughts, viewing them as merely human and therefore unspiritual, is to unknowingly reject a vital pathway to experiencing the sacred in its most accessible form. This perspective challenges dualistic thinking, integrating the material and the spiritual. It is intimately tied to Jung's concept of the coniunctio, sacred marriage, and the union of opposites. as well as the archetype of the divine child residing within humanity. Many wisdom traditions speak of seeing the divine in everyone and everything. Consider the Sufi mystics, whose ecstatic poetry often uses the language of earthly love and longing to describe the profound spiritual yearning for union with the divine. For them, human love was not a distraction from God, but a direct pathway, a mirror reflecting the ultimate beloved. This profound principle plays out in myriad ways in contemporary life, often unnoticed. The deep bond with a child, a parent, or a partner, if consciously experienced, can become a daily spiritual practice of unconditional love, patience, and forgiveness. The simple act of genuinely caring for a friend in need becomes a direct experience of compassion, a core spiritual virtue. Even the appreciation of another's beauty or talent can be a moment of encountering the divine spark manifesting in form. To dismiss these experiences as merely human is to miss profound opportunities for spiritual growth and connection. To embrace the principle of the embodied divine, consciously seek out and celebrate the divine spark within the individuals who occupy your thoughts. When you think of someone, allow yourself to feel the genuine affection, admiration, or concern without judgment. Practice seeing beyond their personality to their inherent spiritual essence. Engage in acts of loving kindness and compassion towards others, recognizing that each interaction is an opportunity to connect with the divine immanence that flows through all beings. This conscious expansion of your spiritual perception will transform your human relationships into profound spiritual pathways. Finally, we encounter the most expansive and often the most liberating shadow principle, the principle of the interconnected web of becoming. This posits that your individual spiritual journey is not isolated, but intimately interwoven with the spiritual journeys of others. Your thoughts of someone are not merely about them, but about how their existence, their struggles, and their triumphs contribute to the larger tapestry of collective consciousness and spiritual evolution. To truly mature spiritually, you must recognize your role not just as an individual seeker, but as a vital thread in this shared process of becoming. This intricate principle transcends the personal shadow and touches upon the collective unconscious, emphasizing the ultimate non-duality, an interdependence of existence. It is the recognition that I am inextricably linked to we. Jung's work on the collective unconscious suggests that humanity shares common patterns of thought and experience, meaning that an individual's growth contributes to the evolution of the whole. Consider the Buddhist concept of Sangha, the spiritual community, where the practice and well-being of each individual supports the enlightenment of all. Your thoughts and intentions for others, therefore, are not separate from your own spiritual work, but an integral part of it. This manifests in countless ways in contemporary life, often subtly influencing our shared reality. A person dedicating their life to service, perhaps inspired by thoughts of alleviating suffering, contributes to the collective good. An individual sending positive thoughts to a friend facing a challenge can, through the subtle energies of intention, offer genuine support that transcends physical distance. Even the simple act of holding someone in compassionate thought rather than judgment actively contributes to a more loving and interconnected collective consciousness. Your inner state, deeply intertwined with your thoughts of others, ripples outwards, affecting the very fabric of reality. To fully integrate the principle of the interconnected web of becoming, consciously expand your perspective beyond your individual spiritual gains. When you think of someone, consider their unique journey and how your connection to them contributes to both your growth and theirs. Practice universal compassion, extending your thoughts of well-being, not just to those you know, but to all beings. Engage in acts of collective healing, recognizing that your personal liberation is deeply tied to the liberation of the whole. This conscious participation in the shared spiritual journey transforms thinking about someone from a passive mental activity into an active, potent force for collective evolution and profound spiritual realization. We have embarked on an arduous, yet ultimately liberating journey, confronting the narrow definitions that often separate human connection from spiritual depth. From the profound reflections of relational mirroring to the expansive truth of the interconnected web of becoming, each principle, once illuminated and integrated, liberates immense spiritual energy and deepens your capacity for both self and universal compassion. Together, these insights form a comprehensive framework, empowering you to not merely cease worrying about what is spiritual in your thoughts of others, but to truly embrace the profound sacredness inherent in all human connection. This integration of the personal and the collective, the human and the divine, is the very essence of a fully embodied spirituality. In the comments below, share which of these 5 principles most resonates with your personal experience of connection, and how you might begin to integrate it into your spiritual practice. If this deep exploration of human connection and its profound spiritual dimensions speaks to your soul, subscribe to the channel to continue unlocking the intricate secrets of the human heart and expanding your understanding of what it truly means to live a spiritual life. Your like is a powerful affirmation that this knowledge holds true value, and a clear signal that this journey of embodied spirituality is one worth continuing together.